Hi, everybody. I'm Retta. I'm an astrologer, and I'm here to help guide you through the first half of September. And in September, get ready for a complicated month. We've got three big things happening. We've got this wave of change. We'll just call it that. And the three things are three planets are changing signs, three planets are moving backwards, and eclipse season begins, which is just shaky, all about surprises and big changes in and of itself. So it's going to be a month that I'm just going to call the wave of change. So let's get into it. So, here in the overview, when we start out September 1st, we start right off with Saturn moving backwards into Pisces. So it's been retrograde for a while, since July 12th. But it's just now, it's moved so far back, it's moved into a different sign. The sign it was in earlier this year. So what that can mean is you can start feeling like you're revisiting stuff. Like, hadn't we already decided this? I already committed to that. And people are coming back and asking you, or maybe it's just popping up for you of like, is that what I want to commit to? So welcome those questions, lean into it with curiosity and see if where you are today and who you are today and you want to commit to that same thing. It may need to be revised a bit, some shifts, some structure about it, or the way it's to be set up. Something does need to be changed. So just lean in, but keep it connected to yourself. Don't just change it because you're like, oh, this astrologer said I need to change stuff. Guys, that is not what I mean. Lean in and listen to yourself and make the changes you feel like you need to make. Now, part of this with Saturn moving backwards, Saturn is the planet around commitments and getting things done and discipline. So while it's moving backwards, you may feel it's harder to commit and to get stuff done. It's moving back into the Pisces waters, which is it's just not a good place for Saturn. Saturn wants to be productive and like trudging forward. And now it's kind of floating and getting caught up in a current. So if you feel that, you are feeling what you're supposed to feel. So it's part of like learning to lean in, float when you need to float, and then move forward it's at a slower pace is probably the best thing you can do right now. And remember, we went through this for about 2.5 years. So for some people, it'll feel kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this sluggish trying to trudge forward. So just bear with it. We'll only have it through November 27th, and then you'll be able to recommit and get moving forward again. Okay, the next big change happens on September 5th, and that is this revolutionary maverick planet of change and disruption is moving backwards. That's Uranus. So we've been talking about that a bit. I think I talked about it in my last video. And so it's a big deal. It just changed signs. That's why I was talking about it before. And it changes signs about every 7 or 8 years. So it's significant change for us. And it's going into the sign it's in is Gemini. And so it's been inviting everyone to speak your truth, even if it's you're risking being disliked. And that's a lot of that's going on right now. But really getting clear what you believe to be true, finding your authentic voice, and then sharing it. So now that we got this news, it's backing up now. And February 3rd means something needs to be revisited and reviewed. First, in your voice, maybe you're changing your point of view. Maybe you know more now. But also, we're going to see this played out out in the collective, probably in politics or in business, where things are up for review, which might look more like, wait, she said this, but now she's saying that, or he was on that side, now he's on this side. So there's going to be some flamming and maybe some secrets revealed, some new truths coming to light. There's going to be expect more of that through the end of this year and into early next year. Another thing that Uranus rules and has influence over is scientific developments, innovation, which also, technology. And, while it's in Gemini, an air sign, we're expecting that all these new developments to really ramp up and move at an even faster pace. So for right now, these next few months, while it's moving backwards, you might see some reviews and revisions, maybe some retractions. Listening to this news around AI and the expectations of what it's going to do and how many jobs are going to be lost. And I invite you to get really curious of who's saying this, and who does it benefit? How much of this can really be calculated? Because it's created a lot of excitement, a lot of drama for a lot of people. So I think that's going to be up for us, and some other things around, the only part you can really control is yourself, right? And how you react to all these events out in the world. And so I believe what Uranus is really inviting you to do is get clear about your voice. And that's where to focus for now. That'd be my suggestion. Okay, and now we get to the big news. So happening in the United States on September 7th, it'll be different days. It might be on the 6th in other parts of the world. We have this total lunar eclipse. So it's a full moon. And so it's going to be really gorgeous in parts of the world. I think I read you could see it in Honolulu and Lisbon and other places. You can Google that and it'll tell you exactly where to go if you want to see it. And it's going to be this reddish color, which can be quite impressive. But what I do here is I talk more about what does it mean? What's it going to be bringing up for us? So all eclipses are about they bring disruption and they're inviting a change, and it's a little bit like rebooting the computer or even turning the television off and restarting it because it just wasn't working, and then you restart, you're like, oh, okay, it just cleared all that up, and now you move forward. That is the opportunity here with this cosmic reboot, because the moon's light is going to go away and then it's going to return. And so when it comes back on, it is this, we have an opportunity that something is cleared, something has been removed. And it's likely to be an old habit or behavior or some strategy that's no longer serving you. And you're going to have about a week to think about this and contemplate and have something to serve up. So I can give you some clues of where to look and what to offer up to this eclipse. So it's in the two signs of Pisces and Virgo. And so in this axis, they're connected. They're exactly across from one another. This is the axis of navigating being versus doing. And we need both in our lives. There are times when we need to be productive. You got to get to work. You got to finish up that spreadsheet. You got to get home. You got to do the laundry. There's a lot that needs to be done. Maybe you want to write a book or finish that song. And so we need to be productive. But also our bodies and our souls need this Pisces side, the side of you need to retreat and commune with something greater than you, or going deeply within yourself. And that restorative time of floating is so essential to this human experience. And often it gets missed. So that's the big question that's up, I think, for all of us, is how are you balancing those things? And especially today. And is there an aspect of that you're ready to let go of? And, specifically looking like I'm ready to let go of overworking or overdoing. That's our Virgo side. And that's shadow Virgo. That's not how all our Virgos are, but that's when Virgo is kind of getting into some old habits that no longer serve. And we all have that somewhere, not just if you have Virgo, sun, or moon. And then the same for Pisces. The very high response to Pisces is one who is deep compassion and, loves all and writes poetry and meditates an hour a day and is in this floaty space. But the shadow side of Pisces, and might be up for review, is escapism. And that's doing things that put you in sort of like a comatose flow, which could be like eating, drinking, binge watching Netflix, things that you think you're checked out, you're not present in your life, and it leads to living this, being a ghost in your own life. So something there. There's a lot in there. So give all that some thought. Also want to add one more clue to this is these eclipses repeat every 19 years. So for those of you who are old enough, look back to September of 2006. What was up for you? What were you doing then? What were you challenged by? because there's some element of that that is going to come back up and it's ready to be taken to this next level of healing, shifting, evolving. So that's your second clue. The third clue we give to everyone to figure out what this eclipse could mean for you is in the following videos, I'll do a deep dive into each sign. And I suggest you look at this two ways. If you are in Aries, look at the one that's Aries. If you know you're in Aries, but you have a Cancer rising, look at Aries and Cancer. And that'll bring you an actual two more layers of information to use and to lean into during this eclipse. And so I also want to add, if I didn't say it before, like this eclipse is likely to be very emotional because it is in the deep waters of Pisces. So during this weekend and even the weeks after, make sure that you're creating some space in your schedule for meditation or quiet time, or maybe you need an extra nap. You're going to need time to feel all of these feelings. And that's why it's here. I think that's the biggest invitation for us, is to feel what you're feeling. All right. That's all for now. I'll be back on September 15th to give you the insight on what's happening for the second half of September.